Hello, my name is Philippe Masson. I'm a specialist working at R1VS First Language School, and today I'm going to talk about our ABC language learning method. So what are we talking about? We are talking about teaching foreign languages to preschool children using the activation of brain center method, hence ABC. And the method was developed by R1VS First Language School. So what shall we see? An insight into neuropsychology of languages, other early language teaching method, and of course the characteristics of our method. First, we've got to understand how do we listen and how do we speak. For a very long time, it was thought that there were very defined areas that were used for hearing or for speaking. This is still in a part true, just that with new technologies we understood that it is much more complex. After all, language uses hearing, seeing, talking, memory, decision-making, emotions, lots of processes, and it involves nearly all of the sectors of the brain. Basically, you could say that it uses only this, and that, being hearing, the area related to language hearing, the area related to language production, and all the nerves that control the speech, what I'm doing now. Now, actually you'll see it goes much further. So, a few years ago appeared a new technology that is called functional MRI, which is a way to see what happens in a live brain. Goes for a very long time. The only way we would see the brain was to cut it open. You don't want to cut a brain open. So now we can see what happens. And well, let's just see what happens if you're listening to music. So we've seen that the audition cortex is somewhere here, and you can see that it is very much activated. But look, it is sparkling everywhere. And would you be listening to language? It would be even more. Actually, I will show you a 3D map of all areas that are related to language tasks. What you've got to understand on the next one, it is that we discovered all of this by stimulating the brain separately. And what happened? For example, if you stimulate this area, well, you stop reading. If you stimulate this area, you stop writing. If you stimulate this area, you can no longer tell your words correctly. If you stimulate those ones, you can no longer produce the sounds of the language. So, as you can see, we got an extremely complex mapping of all the functions. But here happens also the decision making. And would you use sign language here, you would see a complete new area here that would become active. So we are going to see that it involves actually all the brain. This is what happens if you are asked to do rhymes. We got the part that go on the left hemisphere. We got the parts that relate to language that we've seen already. But this part was not activated in the previous experiment. This one neither. So it is no longer a world where we have a just limited area of language. Language goes all over the brain. And it took up to the 21st century not only to know it, but to prove it. So what do we learn from this? Language is a very complex task and it uses all possible modalities. Therefore, a good language method shall stimulate, activate all of these centers. Hence the method and the name. Activation of brain centers language learning method. So now, how do we apply what we've just seen? And that is actually very complicated if you look at it. I don't think that any school teacher should know actually all of this. But what we should know is what are the characteristics of our target audience. And our target audience, well, they are small kids, 3 to 7 years old. So first there is a high inter-age group variability. What does that mean? It means that a kid 3 years old does not learn like a 5 years old kid, who again does not learn like a 7 years old. Their learning patterns, their cognitive patterns are fundamentally different. The other thing is that there is a high inter-individual variability. That means that the little Yanis, who is 3 years old, and the little Anna, who is 3 years old as well, well, they won't be at the same development stage. There would be very few chances that they would be exactly at the same development stage. So within the same age group, each kid will be more or less advanced on a cognitive point of view. They got, and this is what they got in common, they got a very short attention span. You cannot bomb them with knowledge for 1 hour like an adult. And even if I would bomb you for 1 hour, well, you would get bored. So they get bored, and they get bored quite fast. Their abilities are built upon previous experience and evolve with each developmental substage. What does that mean? It means that, well, in order to learn how to run, you first learn how to walk. In order to learn how to walk, you first learn how to stand. In order to learn how to stand, you first learn how to sit, and so on and so forth. And it's built layer upon layer upon layer. And also something that is of paramount importance for children this age. They are extremely sensitive to emotional content. And as a feedback, they can give back extreme levels of emotions. They can laugh, burst out laughing, and the next minute they will burst out in tears because some emotional element came in. Written language is not yet acquired for most of children, and for the few ones who know a little bit about written language, well, it's not yet stable. So, early languages method, there are many of them, and they've been around for quite a while. It's been actually a very long time since people understood that the earlier you learn a foreign language, the better you will speak it. But, well, actually there are not all equal and not all as efficient as they may look like. So what do they have in common? The first thing is that they are early learning, so that means preschool, 3 to 7 years old. The second thing is that their goal is to teach foreign language elements. None of them is as presumptuous as thinking that they will teach the complete language to a preschool kid. This is not possible at school. And actually this is all, because on all of the points they differ. So let's see a little bit what they are. The usual methods, you've got the empirical method, the home cooked. So basically what does that mean? It means that somebody had a nice idea and dug in the books and dug in one's own knowledge and one's own experience and started making one's own method. Well, the good thing is that it is adapted, because it is adapted to the teacher. If I make my own method, well, I will master it perfectly. If I'm smart enough, I will do it with the specific kids I work with. So, well, it will be adapted to them. But then, well, it's teacher-based. It works for me. Does it work for my colleague or my other colleague or people I even don't know or people who work somewhere else? Well, very few chances. It's non-reproducible. I cannot take it and copy-paste it somewhere. And it has no scientific grounding. So there is the copy-paste of older children methods. So you feel, okay, we teach 7, 8 years old with some methods, so maybe we can use them with 5 years old. After all, well, there is not so much of a difference. Nah, there is a huge difference. Actually, you may think it's easy, it's already existing, but well, it doesn't take into account what we saw earlier, this huge interage variability, huge interage difference. So, well, then you may think, okay, let's do it as if it would be natural language acquisition. So, let's put the kids in an environment where they are submitted to the language, and you've got lots of possibilities, and every time there is a new object, you say, well, this is a table, this is a chair. Well, it works very well in the family group. Yeah, but try and do it at school when you've got only 40 minutes to do it. Well, sorry, this doesn't work.